offensively?
Big night for us. The two-run homer, the two-run double. It changed the way we were able to do things. Castro had a huge night. I thought Evo had a really good night. And Swarzak had really big 2 1/3 innings for us, 2/3.
You mentioned Swarzak. He came in a very tough situation
Yeah.
in that 6th inning, bases loaded, 1 out. What did you like about him in that situation?
He made quality pitches and threw the ball extremely well the last time we had him out there. And I wasn't sure how long I would use him, depending on what the score was, but I liked what he did when he threw the other day, and we went right back to him.
One of the outs was Ref Snyder, not all that familiar with first base, and made a nice play in foul territory. How tough of a play is that for somebody that isn't all that familiar with that position?
It's pretty tough. I think playing second base probably helped him a little bit. It'd be much tougher on the other side of the diamond if he was third base having to run that way. But he made an outstanding play. He's made some really good plays running down the line and catching some foul pop-ups for us. And then to have the presence of mind just to turn quickly and make a good throw and keep Adam Jones from scoring was an outstanding play.
You had mentioned that you were able to do things differently because of the offense. The fact that they tacked on runs in the 5th, the 6th, and the 8th, that you didn't have to use any of the big three.
Yeah.
How crucial is that for the rest of the series?
Well, I think it's important. I think it's important that it happens the rest of the year because we can't rely on them every night. And I thought that tacking on runs was extremely important.
Eric.
Joe, you said before the start of this homestand that for teams to get on a roll, you need that consistent starting pitching. What have you liked about the last 3 games?
Well, I mean, our starting pitchers have held the other club down. I mean, we haven't scored a ton of runs. Tonight's we almost scored as many as we did in the first 4 games. So they've all done a good job, and it needs to start over with Michael tomorrow. And that's how you put long streaks together.
Who else? Mark.
Joe, you've talked about how you guys have gotten to this point before, but you haven't been able to
Yeah.
move forward. How big are these next 2 games in terms of if you can finish off a sweep, then you've moved within 4.5. Whereas if you even split them, you're still where you.
Well, I think tomorrow's a big game for us because we're trying to make up ground, and other teams in our division have been winning, and other teams that we're fighting with spots have been winning. So I think tomorrow's an extremely big game. Obviously, we know how good the Orioles are, but we got to come out and play our best game.
Ron and Chad.
Do you feel an importance to run off a streak of wins, not just to make up games in the standings, but also to convince the powers that be here not to start making trades?
I try not to think about that. I try to focus on the game, the game at hand. And my focus is making up ground. That's what I concern myself with. For the most part, I do. They're going to be asked questions, so it's going to come to their minds from time to time. But I think they're concerned about making up ground.
Joe, you obviously had Dellin available, and you had him up for the 7th. Just wondering, just because it's such a key spot there, and in the 6th inning with the heart of the order coming up, any thought of trying to get him in there and to?
Yeah, no, because I didn't want to necessarily get him hot and not use him. Because then I felt like I wouldn't have him for the next day either. And I wasn't going to ask him to go multiple innings, so we needed someone else to step up, and that was Swarzak tonight.
To your left, Joe.
Joe, it's a tiny sample, but what have you liked from Castro since you guys got back from the break?
Oh, he swung the bat really well. I mean, you look at the last 3 weeks, he's been hot again for us. And he's a guy that has the ability to hit the ball at the ballpark and drive in runs, and that's what he did tonight.
To your right, Joe.
I know you've talked about how Ellsbury's swing is conducive to catches interferences, and he's always been a guy that has drawn them. But why so many this season in particular?
I really don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Why he's got so? I think he's got 9 of his 23 in his career. Can't really put my finger on it.
Billy, standing up.
What was it that made you turn to Swarzak in that circumstance?
I talked about it earlier, just a second ago. I liked what he did the other day, and I liked what he's done for the most part. He has pitched in these situations. He has experience. He throws strikes. He has a couple pitches, that he can use, and he's got some velo. So that's why I went to him.
Middle, Joe.
With Eovaldi in that 6th, I mean, it just seemed to get away from him so quickly. I mean, did you just get the sense that he was losing his command and wanted to just make?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a couple walks in that inning, got some long counts, so I just felt like, he hasn't been stretched out for, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks or so. So I felt, maybe he was at his limit, and that's why I made the change.
Ron, up front.
Given that it's only 2 outings, can you make a judgment yet on Swarzak, whether he's that sort of bridge to the trio that you said last week you were hoping to discover?
I've said most of his outings have been pretty good. He's had a couple hiccups along the way, but most of his outings have been pretty good. And he's a guy that's also used to going multiple innings. He did that a lot in Minnesota. So, yeah, he could be that guy.
Chad.
So just Chad Green was scratched from the start tonight. Does that anything to do with you all? Like, are you planning to bring him up?
It could. I have nothing for you.